Relations between Turkey and Montenegro continue to deepen during a time of great uncertainty in the Western Balkans. I sat down with Montenegro's president, Jakov Milatovic, to talk about his country's growing regional significance and the impact of the war in Ukraine. I'm Frank Uciardo, and this is TRT World One-on-One. President Jakov Milatovic, thank you for joining us here on TRT World. As president of Montenegro, you really must be very concerned about the temperature of politics right now in Middle Europe and what is going on with the war in Ukraine.
Well, absolutely. Montenegro is a NATO member ever since 2017. We are also, a front runner when it comes to the EU integration, and we are fully aligning our foreign and security policy with the one of the EU. So yes, indeed, I think that the Russian aggression in Ukraine has been very unfortunate. We do hope that the peace, will come soon. But indeed, we have sanctioned Russia as from the day one, thus following closely the foreign and security policy of the EU. We do support the choice of Ukrainian people, when it comes to their Euro-Atlantic future.
I understand that because of the conflict and the war in Ukraine, that your country, Montenegro, has taken in an incredible amount of refugees. Tell us about that.
Well, Montenegro, also during the Yugoslav wars in the early 90s, was a place where a number of people from the other Yugoslav republics basically found their safe shelter. And this is what happened also now during the war in Ukraine. At one point, the number of Ukrainian people in Montenegro counted for about 10% of our population. And we have opened up our borders, we have provided free healthcare, we have opened up the labor market for them. And I'm very proud for the way that Montenegro behaved vis-a-vis the citizens of Ukraine who, because of the war, found some peace in Montenegro, this is we understand the conflicts as a country which comes from the Balkan region. We do want to be a safe shelter for Ukrainian people, and I think that we have succeeded in that.
Do you feel that because of what has taken place in Ukraine, that Russia might have ambitions for other parts of the region? As far as possibly, well, if I can do this in Ukraine, maybe I can do this in another border or another country.
Listen, this is why Montenegro is very much committed to the, rule-based world order, and this is why we are fully aligned with the foreign security policy of the EU. This is why we are hoping that Russia would withdraw from Ukraine, and this is why we are supporting Ukrainian fight for the sovereignty in a sense. I wouldn't really be able now to comment on what else Russia wants, but what I really hope as the president of Montenegro is that the peace is restored to Europe. Naturally that Ukraine is suffering the most, but negative consequences of this war are being felt across the world. Think of the inflation, think of the increase of the food prices, think of a number of refugees in a number of other European countries. This is not what Europe of the 21st century should look like, and Montenegro has a very strong and very clear position in this regard.
Is the suspension of the Black Sea Grain Initiative affecting your country?
It's very unfortunate. It is affecting Montenegro in the way that is affecting every other importer of the grain. I think that the prices of food are obviously skyrocketing, and the government of Montenegro is doing as much as possible, but it's never enough when it comes to the standard of living of the people, in Montenegro, but also across Europe.
It's been about 3 years since the PostJarovic Administration was in power. What has it meant for the region of Montenegro and the wider Western Balkans?
Well, what happened in 2020 in Montenegro is a situation which happened in a number of Eastern European countries in the early 90s. So we changed the government through peaceful elections, and I think that Montenegro now, 3 years after, particularly also following the presidential elections, where I defeated a long-lasting president of the country, is really a better place. It's definitely a place with much more democracy now, with a well-being of the citizens, which is bigger than what used to be 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I actually became an economy minister in a tremendously difficult situation for the country. The GDP fall about 15% in 2020. Public debt was skyrocketing, and a number of other things. I think that over the last 2 to 3 years, we have managed to implement a number of important structural policies to increase the prosperity and the well-being of our citizens. Let me give you an example. 3 years ago, a net average salary in the country was about 500 euros. Now it's 800 euros. It's more than 50% increase. The same happened with the pensions. A number of other social security measures were implemented, such as the provision of the free books to all the primary students, child allowances, and everything else. And this is really what ultimately matters for the well-being of the citizens. On top of the prosperity, Montenegro is an even more aspiring country now when it comes to the EU accession. We are a more credible NATO member, and I have done together with all my colleagues a number of steps to really normalize the links between Montenegro and all the other countries in the Balkans, trying to be a good neighbor and trying to promote good neighborly relations in the Western Balkans. So overall, I think it's a much better place.
In closing, I wanted to talk about your relationship with Türkiye. This seems to be growing in such a positive direction that the Turkish foreign minister, I understand, inaugurated a chamber of commerce in your country this year.
Yeah, I met both the President Erdogan and the new foreign minister. Turkey is a country with whom we do want to have, and we do have excellent political relations. But what has been missing a bit, is the increase of the economic links. I'm very happy to say that over the last few years, this economic collaboration has been growing. We have a number of investments from Turkey in Montenegro. There is now an increased flow of the tourists between the two countries, and I think that's the way to go. I think that Turkey is a big country, is a big regional player, and to that extent, me as a president of Montenegro are trying to establish the best possible links with Turkey.
Mm-hmm. Well, one other thing I wanted to ask you, as far as somebody that's coming into the role of president at such a tumultuous time in Europe, what do you feel are your priorities?
My top priority is Montenegro in the EU. That's absolutely the number one priority of the foreign policy. There are three clear foreign policy priorities of Montenegro. One is the EU accession. The second is even more credible membership within the NATO alliance. And the third are the good neighborly relations, between the Balkan states. And that's very, very clear. When it comes to the domestic policy, number one priority is definitely prosperity of the citizens, well-being of the citizens, and the fight against organized crime and corruption. So normality of the country, and the story in which Montenegro really can and should become a country in which there are only two important things to succeed in life: education and hard work. That's my story that I'm trying to become the story of the whole country.
That's beautifully put. Thank you very much, President Jakov Milatovic of Montenegro. Thank you for joining us here on TRT World.
Thank you very much.